45 laps into this race.
Twice the Indy cars have raced here at New Hampshire. Twice the pole sitter has won the race. What about Emerson today? He reported to his crew that his car is swimming like a fish. I assume that means that it was squirreling back and forth all over the track. Let's go pit side, Jan Beekens.
Well, it turns out that we're having a tire blistering problem. Emerson Fittipaldi has blistered the front tires of his Marlboro Penske. That's why he radioed in that he had understeer. They're trying to obviously block this right now because the Goodyear engineers are trying to keep everybody out of here. It's pretty frantic down here, but it looks like he might have a potential tire problem, Paul.
Well, if he has it, then you have to assume everybody has it.
Jan, we had just spoken about the softer compound that Goodyear brought here for this weekend. It has made everybody go fast. Why do you think they brought a softer compound? Well, it is in preparation for the Firestone onslaught to IndyCar racing next year. They're preparing right now for the battle.
Unser Jr. around Mansell, now on the attack for second place, Raul Boesel. Though those attacks are getting a little more difficult. They're bottled up behind Bobby Rahal, who has been giving wide berth to the corners and letting the leaders come through.
A neutral handling car will preserve its tires better. We have seen Al Jr. particularly good in the corners. Maybe he has a neutral handling car that allows him to be brave like this, and he passes Boesel.
But he gets caught up behind Rahal, but not caught for long. Around inside Rahal, Boesel back to third place. Look how fast they pull away from Rahal's car. In the front of the field, it's Tracy, Unser, Raul Boesel. We'll be back. The Slick 5200 is being brought to you by American Honda, who has been making quality cars in America for the past 11 years. And by PPG, world leaders in automotive finishes. The chairman of Slick 50, Bill, keeps an eye on this race. But he thought it wasn't going to get underway there for a while. We're now 64 laps deep in it, a little over 64 miles. Paul Tracy is the leader. Nigel Mansell is back in third as Al Unser Jr. got around him, and then Mansell got around Boesel. Boesel then sits in fourth place, and Mario Andretti sits in fifth, followed by Teo Fabi, Michael Andretti, Dominic Dobson, Jimmy Vasser, and Adrian Fernandez. Fittipaldi trying to find his way back through the field, fell back to 14th, is now up to 12th when he went in to change all four tires. There's Tracy, the leader, as now they're in that situation on an oval where they're almost constantly in traffic.
Familiar role for Paul Tracy to lead, but he is about to have his hands full with his teammate Al Unser Jr., who spends more time during practice preparing for his race setup than probably anybody else here. And here's the result of it. Always quicker with a long, long run on a full tank of fuel.
With Dominic Dobson in the middle, they work their way around the slower car first of Willie T. Ribbs and then Mark Smith. Jr. looking for room and decides the outside is the better place to go. And that's interesting comparison of lines.
That's right. That seems to be his favorite line, to go high and around the outside, which means you actually have to make the car do less work. You can only do that if you have a neutral handling car, which Al Jr. seems to have. And remember, that preserves the tires. Nothing makes race cars go faster better than preserved good tires.
Wouldn't you also say it requires quite a bit of courage, because he's taking it right to the wall when he comes out?
The car gives you confidence. Then you don't need the courage. You know it can do it. You don't need to be brave. But Tracy is not as quick. Here's a slingshot.
Al makes the move for the lead. Michael Andretti in front of Tracy, not a factor. And take a look at closing in. There's Mansell.
So maybe Paul Tracy is beginning to suffer a similar problem that affected Emerson, because Mansell is right with this leading group here. The longer it goes, the better Mansell and Al Jr. seems to get.
And Al Unser Jr. grabs the lead away from Tracy. Mansell closing in. Remember these players a year ago? Tracy and Mansell. Let's get an update on Nigel Mansell, who moves into second place. Gary Gerald.
He just flashed by us and swings to the outside line as he heads for turn 2, and the crew took a deep breath as they watched that bold move by the defending champion. They expect on their stop that could be within the next 10 laps, they're going to make a change. They'll go down one turn on the left front side of the wing only, not the right, but the left. Now, how will that
to monitor as many of the frequencies here as we can, and more people, as this run goes on, actually now begin to ask for more front wing, to pin the front of those cars more in the corners to stop that scrubbing. When you scrub with understeer, you create way too much heat, and heat creates the blisters that was experienced earlier by Emerson.
Update on the Penske cars, Jan Beekes.
Well, first of all, when you're talking about those blisters on the front of Emerson's car, the blisters were in the middle, which would lead me to believe that the pressure was a little too high. We checked in with Paul Tracy because he is slowing down, like you said, in the clutches of Al Jr. They said, no, he is not experiencing the same problem that Emerson had.
Paul Tracy has fallen to third. The race is now led by Al Unser Jr., chased by Nigel Mansell. Mansell's fallen back about 2.2 seconds. Intervening, of course, is Michael Andretti. You got a little glimpse of the interval there. Mansell needs to handle up Michael Andretti so he can get back in touch with the lead.
Michael, who came here expecting to be the fastest Reynard runner, was, he said, downright scared on Friday morning because the handling of the car was so bad.
This gives you the interval here.
They did work on it. He wasn't to his liking, and it's not as good as he needs because he's normally a front runner, particularly on these ovals.
On this short little track, Al Unser Jr. has almost a straightaway lead now.
See, Michael, you can actually see him look in his mirror. He looks down to the left side of the car in the mirror to see where Mansell is before he decides to come down to the line he wants to use. He wanted to make sure Mansell didn't already occupy.
Trying to conquer Michael Andretti. Michael is the 7th place car and the last car on the lead lap.
Michael's fastest
well, actually not on the lead lap once Al Unser Jr. got past him, but the last one on the lead lap that Nigel has to encounter. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but to give you an idea of the speed Michael does, 159 is his fastest lap. That is 4 miles an hour slower than an Al Unser Jr. lap in the Penske.
76 laps complete. 76 laps. We should be seeing stops anytime now. Of course, that early yellow made a world of difference. Indications are Paul Tracy will probably come in on the 82nd lap.
10 laps from now, and 10 laps does not take very long when you fly around these 1-mile ovals, but you can bet there will be close examination of tires because the neutral handling car that Al Jr. has is what they will try and replicate on Emerson's and Tracy's.
Nigel Mansell cannot seem to either catch or get around Michael Andretti.
His reputation works.
It certainly is.
It certainly is now.
78 laps complete, 78 miles. Let's go to the front of the field. Al Unser Jr. due to pit any time now. That's Mark Smith to the outside. His beautiful Blue Max helmet. If you come to an IndyCar race, make sure you go see Mark Smith's helmet. It's magnificent. Al Unser Jr. on the backstretch. Due to stop any time now.
Engineered by Terry Satchel. He's the one that listens to Al Jr., tries to give him what he wants. Richard Buck is his chief mechanic. What a team they have become this year, how they enjoy the success. And the package just seems to be right this year for Al Jr.
Now just take a guess of the pressure that the teams now feel in the pits. They know the leader's on the way. Little Al has been in a valiant fight that put him in the lead. Any mistake at all, a half a second, can blow this whole race. So the pressure now shifts from the driver and over to the crew, and it's tremendous. Jan Beekes is there.
Al Unser Jr. brings it to a stop. We take a quick look. There's very small blisters on that tire, but nothing near what Fittipaldi had. It looks like this car, just like you said, gentlemen, is working fine. No changes on the front wing. Boy, that was a quick tires. They're just waiting for fuel. And Al Unser Jr. Whoa! Whoa! Well, I think there could possibly be a problem. When he stuck that thing in gear, it really made a gearbox type sound. Keep an eye on Al Jr. That thing really slammed into gear.
All right, we'll keep an eye on Al Unser Jr. This is Mario Andretti into the pits as 4th place. Stop routine for him. He lights the tires on the way out. Pit speed is 80 miles an hour, but Mario's down at the end of the pits. Paul Tracy now in, Jan.
First of all, we saw the other Penske car. Now we see Paul Tracy. His tires were absolutely clean. Boy, that was a quicker pit stop for Paul Tracy. Boy, he lights him up. He's out of here, Paul. No gearbox sound for Tracy like we had for Al Jr.
terrific stop for Tracy. Nigel Mansell stays out, assumes the lead on the stops, but of course is due to come in as well. He's completed 83 laps under the green, and he's decided he can go further.
And this is when you fully understand what teamwork means in IndyCar racing, because sometimes if you can't make the pass on the racetrack, your crew will actually help you make it out or in the pit lane. Vice versa, if they make a mistake, you can be in trouble. But Mansell, we believe, is on the way to his pit.
Nigel Mansell due in now. Raul Boesel will pick up the lead if he does not come in. So the Newman Haas crew ready to go to work, and Gary Gerould is there.
Tom Wirtz will wave him into position, crosses the yellow line. Now Mansell comes down pit road after Mario already made his stop. The luxury of a wide open spacing for the defending champion. He said last year this was one of the most exhilarating races of his career. It fell on his birthday. He'd love to get his first victory of '94 here today. Routine service. They'll go down a turn on that left front. They've done it. He's away in 14 seconds flat.
Nigel Mansell rolls out, but Raul Boesel was out way ahead of him. He pitted simultaneously, but well back in the pits. There's Raul as he comes back up to speed, and Al Unser Jr. will come back to the lead of the race. So the first round of stops complete on lap 85. The early yellow being very helpful with fuel to the stops and turning this into a two-stop race.
So now the key to seeing how well the crews did is how do your drivers come back out on the racetrack after their race for 2 or 3 laps. Clearly Al Jr. still in the lead. His crew did a good job, and an equally good job by Paul Tracy, although we thought he was maybe a second quicker during his actual stop.
Yeah, but the job of the Dick Simon team, Raul Boesel, comes out of the pits in 7th place, and he is now just in front of the leader and in danger of going a lap down. But the stops did put 7 cars back on the lead lap, led by Al Unser Jr. We'll be back.
Now's the time to get a Corolla.
200, the leader of the race is Al Unser Jr. after the first stop. Nigel Mansell is second, followed by Paul Tracy, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Mario Andretti, and there is plenty of traffic. Look at Mansell as he continues its attack on the leader. Down to the inside, he sweeps to the outside along Rahal, and he is very definitely pursuing Al Unser Jr. The report by the crew after that stop for Mansell was that his tires were in great shape.
Well, we didn't see the Penske cars of Tracy or Al Jr. make any major changes to those front wings, so we know they're pretty good. We know by Mansell's speed, he's good. Now, these particular corners suit Mansell's style. He's brave, he likes to go very late and deep, and he's very good at reading traffic. He uses traffic very well to his advantage.
It astounded me last year at the joy that he took out of driving on ovals. One would think that he wouldn't like it. In fact, most former Formula One drivers, yourself included, Derek, I remember